You know, the problem is every time I turn the camera on, I want to sing Back in the Saddle. Back in the saddle again, down where a friend is a friend, where the lonely man is man or something. I don't know the word to the song. Welcome back to 500 Questions. I'm your host, Brian from A Bit of Orange, and I've got a question from DV, who says, I really hope you know that evolution is the editor and adds and removes traits, not natural selection. Natural selection chooses what traits are added or removed. And that's it. That's the entire comment. And I'm always just surprised when somebody throws down like a sort of a fragment of a thought there and kind of goes, he'll get what I'm saying. He'll infer the rest. So I have to kind of imply what this is about. But here's the problem. Evolution is an editor in terms of how it's been described through, natural selection, mutation, that kind of thing. That's an editing process. But editing does not mean adding traits in terms of adding new genes. Because here's what evolution has to account for, is the addition of genetic information that codes for new structures, functions, and behaviors. If a new trait shows up because genes that already existed got shuffled in a way that is unusual or just hasn't been seen before, you might see something you haven't seen before in the population. You might say, it's a change in allele frequency, it's a new allele. Just because you haven't seen it expressed before doesn't mean that gene wasn't already there. And this happens all the time. I don't know, some years ago we thought we had discovered a new species of salamander or something, some new kind of amphibian. But then we discovered, no, it's just the juvenile form of a particular known species that couldn't develop properly because of some weird chemical imbalance in the water. And that's not the result of new genes coming into being. That's the result of existing genes being expressed in a way we hadn't seen before. So genes are complex. They code for particular things, but sometimes genes are switched on or off, or they interact with other genes in ways that they can produce results that are not just, A plus B. Like if you've got a chicken and you've got the gene for black feathers and the gene for white feathers, you think, all right, that'll make gray feathers. Not necessarily. Sometimes adding those two together, you might wind up with a red chicken. You're like, where did that come from? Well, you got to look at the chemical pathways, but sometimes it's just more complex than that. I too much. I'm getting self-conscious about it. So, in terms of traits, it's not really good to talk about evolution in terms of traits or adaptations. You have to talk about evolution in terms of genetic information, because you start off with bacteria. It has the genes to make bacteria. It does not have the genes to make a worm or a fish or a lizard. Somewhere through history, evolution has to show that those genes come into being through unguided natural causes. So showing that a new trait shows up might just be the expression of an existing gene. Evolution doesn't add those. The only thing that any of the proposed mechanisms of evolution can do or have ever been seen to do is to remove existing traits, remove existing genes, damage existing genetic information. It is an editor, but only in the sense of tearing pages out, never in the sense of adding new pages in. So, yes, I do know that. Natural selection chooses. He puts chooses in all caps. What traits are added or removed? Okay, everybody. Natural selection is what we call it when environmental pressures increase or decrease the chance of survival for a particular variation. But the word chooses here is in capital letters. Choice is something that an intelligence, a sentient intelligence, has the ability to do. It is the function of a mind. Nature does not choose. Natural selection does not choose. There's no choosing. That language is just the sort of, it's an attempt to try to describe the need for God in nature without acknowledging God. We're going to say nature chooses. Instead of saying it's God's design, it's nature's design. It's evolution designed it. Again with the airplanes. I'm out in nature and they keep flying over me. Anyway, so I do know that evolution is an editor, but it does not add, it only removes. It doesn't add new information, it only removes information that already existed. And that's how observational science shows us that evolution fails on its own merits. So to be clear, this is not a God of the gaps argument that says, well, we don't know how this works, so probably that means it's designed. No, it's because we do know you cannot add by subtracting. All those evolutionary processes only destroy existing information, they remove existing genes, they subtract from what is. They do not add. So, you can't add by subtracting. Evolution is dead. Science! Alright, thanks for writing in, Davey. Everybody else, send me questions. I'm here to help you. Thanks for watching. Thanks for liking, commenting, and subscribing. And remember, my friends, Jesus loves you.